I guess we live, baby. Hello. I am not a new face to this platform, but I guess I am taking on a different identity in this new platform, or not new platform. YouTube is an old platform, but on this platform. And so obviously, it's Dr. Tamisha Davis, and I am here yet again with another video, yet a different video than I've normally posted here. Um, and I think it's because I have decided that I am ready to explore a different world of content, I guess. It feels so weird for me to say that word out loud because, as I've said in other spaces, I am not the person who believes that I am a content creator. I just like running my mouth and I like helping people. And so while I do that in my professional world, if you have never watched a video of mine and this is your first time, I am both a therapist, so a psychotherapist, and a assistant professor. I have a PhD. Yes, I'm a real doctor. And I enjoy helping and talking people through things, and I've done it my entire life. And I would like the opportunity to reach more people, and I can't do that in my personal space because I'm only one person. So I am gonna just start this capacity or this version of myself. So I wanted to make this video and explore a little bit about who Tamisha is and how she got here, just so that you can understand my credibility. I don't believe in taking feedback and tips from everybody. I believe that we should be very careful on who we listen to, very careful on who we let into our spaces. So I think that it's important that I share how I've gotten here, my expertise, and why I feel credible enough to sit here and be in this space. So like I said before, I am a licensed clinical social worker. I have been a social worker, since 2013 when I graduated with my master's, took my test, got licensed. I have done therapy in the private practice space since 2014 or 15, I believe. And at the time, I was working with one of my friends in her private practice. And then when I moved to New Jersey, which we'll talk about later on, I opened my own private practice. And I have been doing that work ever since. I don't have a full capacity or a full caseload, I should say, because it's not my full-time job. My full-time job is I'm an assistant professor where I teach other social workers how to go off into the world and to help people. And so that is essentially the titles. I am also a wife, so that is another role that I play in my life, which is why I don't have a bunch of capacity to help as many people, or I should say interact. I don't have as much capacity to interact with many people or as many people as I would like to. And so I think that YouTube is the perfect place for that, especially as we are sort of moving towards more platforms like YouTube where people go to seek support and help. And so how did I get here? How did I get here? So when it comes to therapy, I won't say I never thought that I would be a therapist because that wouldn't be the truth. When I was a kid, I always wanted to be a psychologist. And so I would say that all the time, like, I'm going to be a psychologist. I want to help people. Or I was going to be a philanthropist. I was like, I want to give out money. I don't know where that money was going to come from. I don't know who bag I was going to be tapping into, but I always wanted to give out money, help people that were less fortunate than me, which is a gag because I didn't come from riches, but that was sort of my personality. Somewhere along the way, I decided that I was going to be an attorney, which I explored for quite a while because your girl can create an argument. I can craft an argument and I can argue you down. So I was like, why not be an attorney and again help people? Because I was going to be a child and family services attorney. But my parents, bless their sweethearts, they spent a whole lot of money on LSAT prep that I took advantage of, because when I went to go take the LSAT, I was in there looking like, yeah, no. So after the LSAT, called my mom immediately, was like, girl, yeah, this ain't gonna work. I'm so sorry. You done told Audra Peoples that I was gonna be an attorney. This ain't working for me. I don't think I can do it. I think that I want to be a social worker. The reason why at the time I was familiar with the work of a social worker is because as I was getting my bachelor's in family science at the University of Maryland, go Terps, I had to do an internship in a related field in order to graduate. And so at the time, I was interning in the social services department at the Unity Healthcare, or at Unity Healthcare in Washington, D.C. And I started to grow a little love and passion for the world of social work. I knew I didn't want to work in social work in the medical field like I was doing at Unity, but I started to feel like this is something that I can really do. One thing about my mom is that she always said, whatever it is that you do it to the fullest capacity possible. Put the pedal to the metal, press the gas, and don't let off the brake. And that is exactly what I did when it came to social work. I got my master's degree from Howard University. I then left Howard University, took a little bit of a break because they drained me. And drained in a good way. They challenged me, they stretched me as a social worker, and grew my capacity so much. And there will always be a love for how big of a challenge that was for me. But left there, took a break, went to go get my PhD in social work because I still wanted to tap into that. But again, fullest capacity. So it was like, all right, if I'm going to be here, I might as well get everything that I can from it. And so that's why I chose the PhD route. And at the time, I thought I was going to do more research, never thought that I was going to land in the world of academia. Here I am. We'll talk about that later. But that's sort of been my journey. And so along the way, I have both worked with adults and children in the therapeutic capacity. Children has not been my strongest suit with therapy because I need somebody to talk to me. I need you to give me your words, tell me what it is that you need from me. And kids are fun and they're great, but a lot of that is interpretation through play, through games, through kids sort of discussing things in ways that aren't necessarily direct. And so for me, I kind of felt like adults were my better, or adolescents into older adults were my better fit. However, working with kids, I grew a love for students with special needs, or our exceptional children is what we call them. And so a lot of my research, a lot of my sort of nerdy life is based in that world, where my biggest focus is how we treat them in the educational environment and how systems are designed and how they are not designed for the better service of this particular demographic of kids. So that is my research academic world. But when it comes to therapy and when it comes to how I approach therapy, a big part of my therapy or my practice is focused on individuals who are experiencing life transitions, and that can range. So when I say life transitions, I'm talking about getting a new job. I'm talking about getting married, getting divorced, having a baby, experiencing a loss, gaining weight, losing weight, all of going to college, all of the things. And I landed there because I started to realize that those were the people in therapy that I was having the most success with. Because I truly believe that when you are a therapist, it's a working relationship, and not everybody is your client, right? Not everybody is my client, and I am not the therapist for everybody. But I truly, truly started to feel like most of the area that I was having the most impact, or the biggest area I was having the most impact, was working with people who were experiencing transitions. So older adolescents, millennials, and people older. So a bit of reflection is that not only did I feel like that's where most of my success was coming from, I realized that that was such a good space for me, or a soft space for me, because of my own personal experiences. So, a little bit about me. I grew up in DC, all over DC. I favor one area over the other, but we won't get into that. But I grew up all over DC. Moved around quite a bit in the city because my mother was a single mom. She was doing the best that she could, trying to raise two children at a very young age, trying to make ends meet. And so, as you can imagine, that was a lot on her. So we moved around a couple of times. I think by the time I got to high school, I had gone to maybe 6 or 7 schools by the time I reached high school. And that again was because of some, transitions and moving from different parts of the city to, I think I moved to Maryland when I was about 13, I think, to moving to Maryland and having to experience life in Maryland. And so I have experienced a lot of transitions, or before I even became an adult, there was a lot of transitions that I had experienced. My mom got married to my dad. I do not consider my dad my stepdad because he is the best dad in the world. And so I don't like to call my dad my stepdad, but my mom got married when I was about 12. And so that was that transition. So going through that transition with my mom, and her marriage, and sort of settling into, okay, wait, it's not just us anymore. There's a whole nother person. I got to share my mama. That was a lot for me, but I got through it, right? And me and my dad are like thick as thieves now. You would have never known that when I was walking down the aisle at their wedding, I was crying because I was sad, not happy, but here we are. So as I sort of think about the fact that I went through so many transitions, even before being an adult, it also started to remind me of why the transition space with other people is so comforting, or it's my place where I do my best work. So going back to the transition, so after my mom and my dad got married, we moved twice in Maryland before settling in high school. So when I never really felt the impact of changing schools a lot until I changed middle schools. And no offense to anybody who went to school with me. I love y'all. Y'all were great. I met some great people. But when I went to James Madison Middle School, that was like, woo, that was a journey. That was an experience. I hated it. I hated it. I hated it. And a big part of it was because a lot of the kids that went to James Madison, they grew up together. They went to elementary school together. They lived in the same neighborhood. And here I was, this new girl coming in the middle of the school year in 8th grade. And so it was a very uncomfortable experience for me that I will never forget. It is actually the first time I got into a fight outside of my family. Now, as kids, me and my family members would fight all the time because we just thought it was funny to set up boxing rings and pretend to fight each other. But middle school was the very first time I got into like a physical fight with someone. So you can just imagine just how pivotal middle school was for me. But even then, gracefully just sort of moving through the transition with no problem. And so graduating from high school was great. Shout out to Frederick Douglass High School and all of the people that I met along the way, and my friends and the people that I still talk to. And then post that, going to college, undergrad was fine. Master's is where, yet again, another transition starts to take place. And so I'm figuring out life outside of my parents' house, got my own apartment, got a new job, and I'm just, floating through. And so during that time, I think I realized that I was on go mode, and I've always been on go mode. So when I was getting my master's, I was going to class. I had an unpaid internship. I had a paid internship. And then I worked at Nine West for a little while selling shoes. That lasted for like 2 months before I was like, yeah, to go. But there was just a lot of me who felt compelled to always work, to always do. And my parents never forced that on me, but I think seeing the life that my mom lived and how difficult life was for her in trying to raise children and trying to just navigate the complexities of that, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't a burden on my family. And I also just got the hustle spirit from my mom. So I was hustling through my master's program, go to PhD program, and sort of the same hustling mentality is carried over. I'm doing my PhD program. When you are doing a PhD program, most people just go to school. I'm going to school. I'm on the research committees at this school because I'm getting a stipend to go to school for free. I am working a full-time job as a school social worker. I am also doing part-time work at private practice, at my friend's private practice, and then also adjunct teaching. So just doing a lot. And during this time of my PhD program, I think I experienced a lot of different transitions along the way that truly shaped the way I view transitions and view the way in which people should be navigating through them. And so during my PhD program, I ended a relationship that I was in for many, many years that was terrible. I don't even know if terrible is the appropriate word, but just terrible. My parents or my family relationships was sort of dismantling at the time. And so there was a lot happening. And I think I thought that I was doing well. I thought that I was managing them well because to other people and to myself, I was. I wasn't really dropping any eggs. I was still moving through life. I was still hustling, still getting good grades. But I realized that a lot of what I was doing at the time was this masking and coping, but I was almost on like a coping masking high. So much so that I was so used to just putting one foot in front of the other and going, and living through it and not slowing down that I just didn't even realize how chaotic my world was at the time. And a part of that is cool, right? Because, it is what it is. It didn't necessarily break me, but I think hindsight is always 2020, and hindsight tells me that there are ways in which I could have sought more support during that time just to deal with all of the things that I was dealing with at the time and to cope with those transitions. I think that I'm very resilient, and a big part of that is because I did go to so many schools. I did have to meet new people, get new friends all of the time, which I enjoy doing. And I think that that's a good trait to have. But I also think that because I was so good at pivoting, that I didn't realize that sometimes it's okay to sit in the change and sit in the transition to truly figure out how it's impacting you before deciding what to do with it. I'm a doer, and so I've always just jumped into doing rather than let me take a second, let me think about this, how do I feel? And I know that sounds crazy coming from a therapist, but your therapists are human too. And sometimes we have the strategies, we have the tools, but we need a little bit of a push to force us to do the things that we sit all day telling other people to do. So for me, I have landed where I've landed because I was resilient and because I managed transitions, but I also felt like there were ways that I could have done things differently, which is why I now work to help other people cope with life and the transitions of life and all that means for them and their environment. And I absolutely love it, but it's not my full time. And so I thought that it would be a great idea to both bring my professional experiences as a licensed therapist, my personal experiences as a resilient woman, a resilient Black woman, and all of the other nuances that exist into the world, into this space, to provide some assistance to you, whoever's watching this. And again, I use the word assistance very lightly. I like to think of it as a tip, because you can take my tips and apply it to your life in whatever way you think is best for you. But I am really excited about stepping outside of myself, stepping outside of who I think I'm supposed to be, in the sense of like super reserved, not in front of the camera. But I love it here. I love talking. I got the gift of gab. And again, I don't have the opportunity to engage as many people, and I think this is the perfect platform for that. So what can you expect from me? You can expect random tidbits about life. You can expect random tips about how to manage certain things in your life, such as yourself, your mental health, how to manage relationships, both the healthy ones and the ones that maybe aren't so healthy. You can expect some tips on random life things. Right now I'm doing 75 hard. That's a lie, 75 medium. And I've been documenting that. So I'll be sharing what that journey is like. I am just going to be my most authentic self in this space, and whatever it is that I have on my heart to share, I will be sharing. I still believe in reserving a piece of your world and your life for yourself, so I will still be doing that. But yeah, when it comes to the personal side of this platform, because I still have Fly Shit and Scholarship, where I interview other educators and scholars and doctors about the work that they do, I will continue to do that. But in this personal world, I'm going to be sharing anything that feels good to me, any thoughts that I have, any feedback, any insight that could possibly help you or someone that you love. So I hope that this introductory video into Tamisha has been good enough for you to subscribe, for you to take the journey, for you to tap in, for you to like, for you to comment, or for you to share. And yeah, I'm really excited, and I truly do hope that my transparency and my vulnerability and my effort to step outside of the normal box that I've set for myself could be an assistance to you. That's it.